On the go? So are we. Get the IBJ Media app, your all-in-one news source for Indiana business news. Get breaking news alerts, read every story from IBJ, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Lawyer, and listen to your favorite podcasts all in one place. Big news, small screen. Search IBJ Media and download the app today.
Welcome to the Indiana Lawyer Podcast. I'm your host, Maura Johnson. In today's episode, I'm joined by James Voyles Jr., an Indianapolis-based criminal defense attorney and motorsports enthusiast who's leaving a lasting impact on the legal community with his tenacious pursuit of justice for his famous, infamous, and misunderstood clients. While you may or may not be familiar with his name, you've likely heard of some of his clients and cases, including former Indianapolis Colts player Pat McAfee, boxer Mike Tyson, and Detroit's Malice at the Palace brawl involving the Indiana Pacers. Through each of his well and lesser-known cases, Voyles stays a penchant for the Sixth Amendment, ensuring each of his clients receive a thorough defense and fair representation in court. In this episode, Voyles and I chat about his new book, which chronicles his life and career thus far. He also tells me about how he got his start in criminal defense, how he maintains his stamina in it, and how his love of racing matches his enthusiasm for his career. But before we get into the episode, here's a word from our sponsor.
Taft, today's modern law firm. At Taft, we cultivate a highly respectful, transparent workplace that fosters creativity, teamwork, inclusion, and diversity. We couple our culture with a client-first approach, rewarding lawyers who understand their clients' goals and work to deliver success. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
First of all, Mr. Voyles, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome. Happy to be here.
So tell me a little bit about your career in criminal defense so far. How did you get to this point in your career, I guess?
Well, it really kind of started years and years ago. My uncle, George Ober, was a lawyer. My father went to law school here in Indianapolis, but only went about a year, and then he was a career military officer. And after World War II, he went back into the military after staying here for a short period of time. And ultimately, that kind of sparked my interest in the law. And my uncle was very much, and really my uncle gets a contribution for three areas of my interest: the law, motorsports, jazz piano. He was one of the founders of the United States Auto Club in 1955 with Mr. Hallman, along with Dwayne Carter and other people. He was a jazz piano expert, even though he couldn't read a note of music. Had a large grand piano at his home that I adored and loved hearing him play. And he was a very fine lawyer. So those kind of areas. And so after college, I knew I wanted to go to law school, and so we came here. I started law school in 1964 at the Indiana University School of Law here in Indianapolis, and during that period of time, I got married in 1965 and had my son David, and subsequently my daughter Jennifer. Graduated in 1968 and went right to where I'm practicing law today, into that firm. So that's kind of the way it happened for me.
When it comes to criminal defense law, what sparked your interest with that field?
Well, I tell people that, very often when you go into a law firm, you sometimes get captured by what they do. It was very easy for me to have been in a firm where they did contracts or personal injury, but the law firm I went in with my uncle was one of the premier criminal trial firms in the state. So it was kind of a natural inclination for me to work in that area. And then when George, Charlie Sims, Ray Robinson, Dick Cardwell was in the firm, when they began to age out of the practice, it kind of just was up to me to take it over. And that's kind of what happened.
You've been a lawyer to many celebrities here in the Midwest and in Indianapolis specifically. Who was your first client like that, and what was that experience like?
What I remember, I represented a Indianapolis Colt who had gotten in trouble. Our former chief of police was after he left the department, became the head of the security, Mike Zunk of the Indianapolis Colts. And they had a player who had a problem with law enforcement. And so Mike referred him to me. And so that kind of started that trend of handling Colts players. And then at some point, I think that it also rolled over a little bit with Donnie Walsh on the Pacers when they had some problems. And so that's kind of how it started. And then ultimately, probably the biggest sports case that I ever got involved in was the Mike Tyson rape trial here in Indianapolis as local counsel for that Washington, D.C. firm, Williams and Conley. So that's kind of how it started, just very innocently, I thought. And our city is full of great lawyers and great trial lawyers. And so we were very blessed to have people suggest that we handle their cases. And so that's what we did. And that's how it worked out.
Was the Mike Tyson case the first time that you were serving as local counsel for another firm out in D.C.?
I'd served as local counsel in some other cases, not nearly the significance of Mr. Tyson's case, but yeah, that was the first foray into became worldwide coverage on behalf of Mr. Tyson. And we were, at that point, exposed to all the issues that you have with that kind of publicity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was going to be a question I asked. Obviously, with representing these people who have such a public platform, I would imagine that the process may look just a little bit different based on the publicity you're getting. How do you handle that?
Well, I never talk to the press. That's been my kind of standard motto for years and years and years. And many times the press weren't interested in talking to me. So it worked out very well. But if you are in a case, the press is really not interested in you. They're interested in facts about the case. And so I never felt that it was important enough for me to ever have a conversation with the press. I was always polite to them, but I was never one to stand out on the curbstone and give my opinion of the case or the details of the case. I thought that belonged in the courtroom, and that's kind of where I left it. I got to the point years ago that I started having a card that I gave to every client that says, stop talking. And I tried to adhere to that myself. Then we added it as social media developed, stop talking, stop texting, stop emailing. And so we've kind of added things to the card that we give out to the clients. But that's kind of how I've always dealt with my practice.
Why did you feel the need to put those cards out for those celebrities? Just because?
Well, not just a celebrity. Anybody who comes to my office who has a criminal matter, I give it to them and instruct them why I think it's so important. Because whatever you say to another person or whatever you put out there is fair game in a criminal prosecution. And so you want to keep that minimal. And I thought and still do think that's the best way to do that.
Did you ever anticipate being known as this defense attorney for well-known clients across the Midwest and Indianapolis?
It's funny. I never looked at myself that way. I'm just a lawyer that has had a wonderful opportunity to practice law in a great community with great lawyers, great judges, and great prosecutors, really. And so I've always found it as kind of an honor that people would pick me to handle their case, that maybe they saw something about what we do that I didn't see. But I've always had a very strong interest in the Sixth Amendment, the right to counsel, and the ability for a defendant to get a fair and impartial trial. And so I don't know I really don't know why people pick me. I think obviously people recommend me, and so that is part of it. But I think we've always, and I'm talking about the firm, not just me, even before I really began developing a practice, the firm that I practiced in had a very strong reputation in criminal trial work. They defended Connie Nicholas in a 1960 murder case here in town that was well known, and she had been allegedly killed the president of Eli Lilly, and it was a very well publicized case at the time. National media looked at that case. And so I think that kind of reputation about the quality work that the firm did benefited me.
Is there so far in your career any case or client that you can talk about that sticks out as a unique experience for you?
Well, I've talked about this in the book, and I've also talked about it before. The Mary Winston murder case. Mary was a black businesswoman here in town, an African-American woman who had developed a wonderful reputation about doing cleaning of major buildings, the Coliseum, fairgrounds, all kinds of very, very successful work. And Mary had been accused of masterminding a killing of her husband, John. And we tried that case in Marion County Criminal Court Division 2, and the jury found Mary not guilty of that. And the interesting thing about that, and it was probably one of the first big cases that I had tried, that there was some notoriety to the case. We went that night to her home and celebrated with her family, her daughters, her brothers and sisters, and it kind of resonated with my wife and I that this was a job that we were able to do, that we had really benefited this woman because we clearly believe that she had been falsely accused of that. So I think that case really stands out in my memory as I was progressing into this practice as somebody that I really respected and enjoyed representing.
Is that kind of a story, a case that you kind of keep in the back of your mind as you're continuing to defend your
Oh,
clients?
yeah, for sure. I think about Mary's case quite often. The funny story about that case was that when the jury came in, the courtroom was divided in people who were friends of Mary's and people who were not friends of Mary's, who were believed in that she was in fact guilty. And when the jury announced his verdict, Mary went straight back in her chair and screamed out loud, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus." Very religious woman and a lovely woman. I turned to her after I said, "Well, what about me, Mary?" And so I've always kind of remembered that case for the benefit that I had of meeting her and helping her.
When it comes to working on these cases, I would imagine that you have to have a certain amount of stamina since you're dealing with such, I would say, intense cases a lot of times. So what would you say are maybe your keys to success in handling these cases and maintaining that stamina throughout your career?
Well, I don't know. I'm blessed. I have great genes. My mother lived to be 93, my dad almost 80. And they instilled in me a very, very strong work ethic. And I like what I do. Every day I get up and it may be a new event or a new interest. That sustains me. And the other thing about, I can really kind of divide my attention from what I do all day at the office or into the evening, and then also be able to enjoy the rest of my family and take it easy on the weekends and stuff. But I've got a great staff, and I've always had a great staff. My one secretary, Nancy Potter, was with me for 42 years, and so we went through lots and lots of battles together. I have great partners. Denny Zahn and I were classmates, and we tried lots of cases together. Now, after he retired, Jenny Lukemeyer in our firm, Jenny and I try most of the major cases together. So it's a shared workload. And then I have Angie Mahones, my legal assistant, Teresa Short, our CFO. So all these people surround me and make my job a lot easier and let me focus on things that I may need to do to prepare for a case. And so I'm blessed that way.
I want to turn now to your book, All Rise,
Okay.
and talk about your motivation for releasing it. Can you tell me a little bit about the book and why release it now?
I'm 83, so but that wasn't the motivation. My motivation was I have 6 kids, and I thought to myself, when I'm gone, I'm not sure they'll remember what I did. And they may say, well, what did Dad do? He left every morning, he came home at night. What did he do? So I thought that I would put down and try to remember for them everything that I've kind of done in my life. And so I met with the author, Mark Bourcier, and Mark is a motorsports writer and has written a number of motorsports books. So I have an avid interest in motorsports. So I thought it was a good opportunity to talk to Mark and said, could we do this? Is this possible? And he said, yeah. He said, it's very possible. And so for 2 years, we sat down, maybe every week or two. He'd come to the house and put his tape recorder out, and we'd talk about things that I had done. Now, from the time I really started practicing, I kept track of what I did. I started, and it's a habit that my uncle had, Uncle George, that he kept scrapbooks of a lot of the things that he did in the 40s and 50s and 60s. So I knew that those things were important. So I began collecting scrapbooks of anything that I may have thought that would be important. And I think I had 27 or 28 of these scrapbooks. And so I would give them to Mark, and he'd pick out cases that had been discussed in the media and those things. And so based upon that, it was kind of the foundation that we began putting the book together. And so it took us 2 years. Mm. I didn't want to publish it. I just keep it for the kids and they could find out. But when we sent it to the publisher, they made a decision that this is a book that you might want to publish, that there may be more than just your family that would like to read it. I'm still not sure about that. But so that's why we did it. Yeah. And it's really got 2 parts of my life. Mm. The first part is all about the law that I've practiced over the years. The second part's about many of the racetracks that I've been to, motorsports personalities that I know or represented. And so it kind of gets both halves of my life are put together in the book. And Mark did a spectacular job of writing it. I just lived it.
And I love that it is both parts of your life. How did you and Mark work through what you wanted to include and what you wanted to fill the story with?
I left it up to him primarily. He was very, very familiar with the last half of my life, the motorsports part, was totally unfamiliar with the legal part. Mm. So it gave me a chance to talk to him about the legal process and what I did during the day. And then we were able to seamlessly flow into the motorsports part because we'd been to racetracks together. We knew the same people. He'd written books about a lot of the people that I had ended up representing. So it was very easy to put those 2 parts together. Yeah.
And I want to ask about, because I think the title is interesting, My Life and Trials with the Famous, Infamous, and the Misunderstood. What specifically does misunderstood mean to you? What kind of did you want to touch on with this?
Those are the people who aren't famous or infamous.
Yeah.
No, it's an old phrase that a friend of mine who's a lawyer in Chicago, he created a society representing the misunderstood. And it's kind of stuck with me. And so I thought that was a kind of a key phrase that people may do things. And if the person says, well, I didn't understand what you were doing. Well, you just misunderstood what I was doing. We incorporated it in the title because there were people who were infamous. There were people who have been famous. And then in the middle, we needed a group of people who were misunderstood. And so it just kind of all fit.
Would you say that your career in criminal defense, you've come across a lot of misunderstood parties, whether they're famous or infamous?
Sure. That's true. Yeah. I have. Yeah, I've had lots of exposure. I'm starting my 58th year, so that's a lot of opportunity to be engaged in the criminal trial practice. I don't regret a year of it. I really, really enjoy it and still enjoy it. My partner and I just finished a major trial 2 weeks ago down in Boonville, Indiana, down in Warwick County. And so I still get the interest to try cases and I told everybody in our firm, if they kind of sense that I'm not 100%, that they ought to pull me aside and maybe sit me in the back row of the courtroom and let me watch. But so far I've been able to meet all the tests and I'm competent to try these cases. So.
And I want to talk about your love of motorsports. I know you said that your uncle was a big proponent of that. Can you talk to me about just how it developed over the years?
Sure. My uncle was kind of the center of the motorsports world, and we're in Indianapolis. This is another nice place to be if you like motorsports. although I lived my high school and college career in Illinois because of my dad's moving through the military service. So I saw my first 500 as a result of my interest from my uncle when I was 10. And I've seen every 500 but one since then. So this will be my 72nd 500. And I think what happens is with my interest in motorsports, I was drawn to the track, not just the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but all kinds of tracks. I've been to dirt tracks. I've been to drag strips. I've been all over in motorsports. I've been to Le Mans 3 times for the 24-hour race. I've been to the Daytona 24-hour race. I've been to the Daytona 500. So, I mean, I haven't missed much. I've been to the Kitley Speedway for the figure 8 races here in Indianapolis. And so once that interest got developed and I would be at the track, and then people would find out you're a lawyer. And so you're a race fan and you're a lawyer. Well, I got questions that this is going on in my life or that's going on in my life. And so I kind of got drawn in to representation of people because I was a lawyer and the fact that I was familiar with what they term the motorsports community. And they've been really wonderful to me.
Do you have a favorite track or maybe a favorite track experience so far?
Well, the 500 is always my favorite track and my wife's favorite track, because we've talked a little bit about her father won the 500, Johnny Parsons, in 1950. And so she had a love of motorsports, came up differently. She's from California. I'm from Indiana. And as a result of my interest in what my uncle did, he was at one point the judge in Speedway, Indiana, one of the magistrates. And coincidentally, when my wife was young, probably 13 or 14 years old, he was good friends with her stepfather, Dwayne Carter, who was also a race driver. And he took her to my uncle's courtroom where she sat on the bench with my uncle. I learned all this after the fact, but it was kind of a small world that we had come together.
I know that obviously you've represented racers and drivers, but is there any part of racing about the experience or maybe the discipline behind it that kind of influences or inspires your career in any way?
Well, I don't know. I think there's a lot of similarities in terms of intensity when you're in a trial. I think medicine, the law, motorsports all kind of have the same intensity required. If you're a surgeon, you have to be very intense and make sure that whatever you're doing is appropriate at the time. And in the practice of law, if you're a trial lawyer, and I think it's more of a trial lawyer request that there are things that are going on in the courtroom you have to pay attention to at all times. It's very important. And as a driver or a mechanic, when you're working on a piece of machinery that is very capable of taking somebody's life, that you have to have the intensity to make sure that all aspects of the vehicle are functioning correctly. And if you're the driver, when you're in the car and you're running 200, 250 miles an hour, you can't make any mistakes with it. So you're really, really intent on what you're doing. And so if there's any similarities, and it was a great question, but if there's any similarity, I think it's the intensity you bring to whatever profession you're in. I'm in the criminal trial profession that is similar to what a driver or mechanic or people who are in motorsports do.
I would imagine it's also just a lot of moving parts. Obviously, you said having to kind of keep your eyes focused.
Well, you're right, because in a courtroom, you're looking at the jury, you're looking at the witness, you're looking at what the judge may rule or thinking about what they may rule. There's all kinds of things that are going on that you have to pay attention to.
And I know that you kind of mentioned it beforehand, how you're able to maintain your stamina and your career, but how do you balance your career with the passions outside of it? I think the book does a really good job of highlighting both.
And it's not hard for me. I've got a passion for the law and I have a passion for motorsports. And it bled over into my car collection. I've got a car collection that have acquired over the years. And so on the weekends, when I'm not thinking about what I'm doing during the day, I get to go to my garage and play around with my cars, think about and I've always been fascinated by the mechanics of motorsports. I'm not at all capable of being an engineer, but I'm interested in how they all function together and how the cars work, how they run, their style. What we kind of say in the motorsports world, it's movable art. The cars that I have been lucky and able to acquire. And then if we go to a number. We're going here in about 3 weeks to the Concours d'Elegance in Amelia Island, Florida, and we annually attend the Concours d'Elegance in Pebble Beach, California, which is the world's finest car show. And so my wife and I enjoy that part of our lives and our chance to see these wonderful expressions of somebody else's creativity. Yeah.
And we're quickly approaching the month of May. Do you have any specific traditions that you like to engage in around the 500?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it.
Oh, yeah. We travel to the race as a family. We have kind of a caravan. We start at our house in Zionsville about 7:30, 7:45 in the morning. We have a particular route that we drive. We park in a particular space, and we walk to our seats in a particular location. We carry our own food. We have the chicken and the beverages and all that. We sit in the same seats that we've sat in for probably almost 50 years now. So yeah, it's a serious deal.
Yeah.
And that will be true throughout the month of May. I'm at the track as often as I can. There's kind of a standing joke within the court system that in the month of May, I moved my office to 16th Street. And I try to keep the judges from setting any kind of trial dates or important hearings in May so that I can go to the track. It's a little easier now because they don't start running till noon, so I can go to the court if there's a case in the morning, or I can go to the office in the morning and then leave about noon and spend the rest of the afternoon where I really like to be, out in the pits at the Speedway. So,
where's the best place to watch it? What's your favorite vantage point?
We watch the race every year from Grandstand B, Box W, and that has been our seats for almost 50 years. And so, but we have a lot of other seats. We have kids that sit in turn 2. We have kids that sit in the other part of stand B. We have kids that sit upstairs because we have a large segment of our family. We have a lot of people because Joan and I had 6 kids, and then of that we have 27 grandkids and 6 great-grandkids, and so there's a lot of people that we have to accommodate on seats for the race, plus friends that we have gone to the races with for years. And so these are kind of the traditions that we engage in during the month of May.
And now swinging back to your career in criminal defense, knowing what you know now, about your career in the legal profession, is there any advice that you might give your younger self about who's just starting out about navigating it?
Well, I think I was blessed to have great mentors: Charlie Sims, George Ober, Dick Cardwell, Ray Robinson, all the people that took me in, gave me a chance to practice law with them, learn from them, and all the fine lawyers that I saw in this community: Owen Mullen, P.K. Ward, great judges, Judge Davis. I mean, just all kinds of people I tried to learn from and listen to and take their advice. And I think the other thing is I was blessed with a good work ethic. I mean, I used to come to the office early, and when I got there, which I thought was early, 7:30, 7:45 in the morning, Charlie Sims would already be there and would always say, "Good afternoon, Jim." And so I was able to see the kind of work that other lawyers were doing in order to be successful. So I think it stuck with me that, and the other thing that I learned from those lawyers was return every phone call. We didn't have email. We had pink slips, and if people called, they would get their message and you'd call them back. We had things that we had to respond to. So there were no computers. It was all paper. And that's what's wrong with me now, because I don't use a computer very often. I want all my files in paper when I go to court. My partner, she takes her computer and has everything on the computer, and it drives me crazy. But it's very successful for the people who have that ability. But I think that the important thing was they used to come down every Saturday morning to open the mail. And so I got into the habit of what they taught me. And it was important for me to meet with clients when clients felt it was. We have a lot of people who said, well, I can't see at noon. I'll see at 5:30, or I'll see you Saturday morning or Sunday. Okay. So we just tried to accommodate the people that needed to see us, because it wasn't just our schedule was important. It was their schedule, because it was an important matter that they're in, and they were concerned enough about it to have us help them. And so, yeah, it was pretty easy for me to just say, I'll be there. And if I have to work till midnight, we work till midnight. If we had to work all night, we worked all night. I mean, it was just that easy to do. And my partners all felt the same way. And so it was very easy to get into the kind of the method that I use today. I don't work as hard as I did when I was maybe 50 or 60, but I'm still the office pretty much 7 days a week if I have to be. But that is, I think, maybe it's being an older lawyer and getting in those kind of habits that you have to follow through with, but that's what's done to me. And so I'd say to young guys and young women one of the things that I enjoy doing, I'm a character and fitness examiner for the Supreme Court. So before a young lawyer can become a lawyer or even take the bar exam, they have to meet people like me throughout the state of Indiana, and we get a chance to talk to them. And we're one of the only states that continue to do that. A lot of times they just fill out their form and send it in. We have to see you. We have to meet with you. We have to make decisions about it. Do you have the good character? Do you have the interest in doing this job as a lawyer, to hold yourself out for the community? And so that gives me an opportunity to not only see young lawyers and give them a pat on the back, send them to the door and say, go take the bar and have a great life, but it also lets me tell them a little bit about how I got here and the kind of work that I have found successful in doing, and the importance of our responsibility. We just got a license that lets us do things on behalf of other people. So it's very important that we keep that in mind.
Do you have plans to let up anytime soon, or are you still?
Well, Angie, my legal assistant, has gotten me to starting to think about taking Fridays off. We have been very unsuccessful at that so far this year, but I'm thinking about it. And I've told my partners that when I feel that I'm not capable, and I'm certainly willing to acknowledge if I see that happening, I'm in great health. We have my wife and I both go to the Mayo Clinic for our annual physicals. We've been blessed to go up there through one of my friends, Chip Ganassi of the Ganassi race team, got us started up there, and I've become really close to Dr. Ian Hay, one of the world's leading endocrinologists up there. And they take care of us and give us the bill of health, and we have great doctors here in Indianapolis. Priority Physicians is a group that Joan and I belong to, and so I'm very comfortable with the health issue. Years ago, we were worried about senility, both of us. We're getting up there, so we went to a neurologist to check, and he said we're both okay. So as long as my health's good and my mental capacity is good, I'm probably going to stay in the game for a while. But I've kind of told the lawyers in our firm that there'll be a time where I'm going to step back totally. But right now, I feel that's maybe down the road a few years, but not a lot.
No. You don't seem senile to me. I'll let you know that. Mr. Voyles, thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
me.
Happy to do this.
And your book is out now, right?
It is. If you're interested in buying the book, it's Coastal 181 for the website, and they'll have the book and they'll send it to you. I was surprised that it has been going as well as it has been, but it was fun to do it. It was done with a great writer who made me look really good in that period of the chapters. And we had some really fine photography that we were able to put in the book of all the Indianapolis 500s that I've been to. 2025 was the first year that I got to go to the podium with Alex Palou when he was celebrating his win and getting our pictures taken with the Borg Warner Trophy and Alex. And Alex has become, as well as Scott Dixon, Mike Hall, and that whole Ganassi team are really, really close friends of ours. And so it's been my honor to be a part of that team.
Thank you for listening to the Indiana Lawyer Podcast. To hear more about Voyles' life and career in law, you can find his book online, which we'll have linked in the show notes. And for more of what's happening in the legal profession around the state, please check out our website at theindianalawyer.com. There, you can find more episodes of this podcast, as well as episodes from podcasts across the IBJ Media Network. You can also find stories from our fellow IBJ Media publications, the Indianapolis Business Journal, and Inside Indiana Business.
From broadcast to podcast, Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is now available anytime on YouTube or in your podcast feed. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcast or at ibjpodcast.com.
Want to give your team a real edge? The IBJ Group Plan delivers unlimited access to every story, every report, every video from IBJ and Inside Indiana Business for your whole team. Cover some or all of your employees with one simple payment. The more you add, the more you save. It's smart, it's flexible, and it saves you up to 30% off the standard rate. Already have IBJ subscribers in your office? Group up and save big. Learn more and get started now at ibj.com/group-plan.